Welcome to The Bottom Line, a wrap of the business of the day. I'm Francis Hurd. So tonight we're zooming in on the sector of mining. Shortly I'll be speaking to the Deputy Mineral Resources and Energy Minister. But first, here is the problem in a picture. Now, mining in many senses is the bedrock of the South African economy. After diamonds were discovered and a gold rush, of course, brought prospectors to Johannesburg, but it's been in decline for years. Mining's contribution to GDP, or overall economic output, has declined from 21% in 1970 to just 6% in 2011. Over the last 5 years, the mining sector lost 75,000 jobs, and many of those workers have dependents. Now, the decline we can see over the last few months. In May, that was the 7th consecutive monthly decline in mining production. These declines here at the beginning of the year, look at this, a whopping 8% in January. Those contributed to the contraction of the economy by 3.2%. But it's still important because this represents more than half of our exports. So mining production is still incredibly important in our economy. Of course, we sell platinum, we sell gold, we sell steel to buyers on the global market, including China. So here's the concern that mining that used to be adding to GDP is now dragging us down, particularly in January, this 8%. But the mining minister, or the mining ministry, says in fact the mining sector is not dying. Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe said last week that there had been new investments totaling 45 billion rand over the past year. He was presenting the department's 2 billion rand budget. And of course we have this combination now of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. And we're joined tonight by the Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources, Bavelile Hlongwa. Thank you for being with us, Deputy Minister. Let me reposition to come to you. Can we start with that? Because a lot of people in South Africa are sort of doing the eulogy for the mining sector, but the minister is saying everything is okay, actually, and then we're seeing an upturn. Do you agree with him?
There's few challenges, yes, but there's a great potential in the country for mining. What you see as biggest declines, when you go and dig deep into that kind of data, you'll find that it's areas like like your gold, and the PGMs.
Yeah.
Those
that's platinum
group metals.
Yeah.
So you'll find that those, because they've been mining consistently for a long time. Gold is sitting estimatedly around 120 years of mining. So you'll find that is going down. But when you look at the explorations of different areas and different mineral resources, you'll find that there's quite a lot that is being picked up in different areas of the country. And for that reason, you find that there's also a bit of growth, but that bit of growth needs a bit of channeling from our side. And one of the biggest challenges is our prices or cost of utilities, which is your electricity, fuels and other types of utilities that are needed for the mining sector to survive. And if you look at the first quarter statistics that were showing us the minus 3.2 decline, you will see that there's a contribution of electricity there, which affects the mining, affects the agriculture, affects most of the industries that have seen a decline. Because when you have a load shedding, they are unable to operate because most of the machinery is electronic,
but then
and
what
it
does
works
this
on
mean?
electricity.
What does this mean? Because our electricity problems, according to many experts, aren't going away in the short term.
The problems of electricity will have to go away, because it's not like the industry will not totally have the solution or for some of the challenges that we have with regards to electricity. So what is required is that all the necessary heads come around the table and propose solutions, test them and put them in action, and understand the speed and the need and the effect that having utilities being expensive has on the economic activities in the country itself. So that is important, and that kind of commitment is required, and the department is committed I think that one needs to come to the fore, that the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy is committed in finding solutions. The discussion started on day 2 of our appointment. So day 1 was the announcement. Day 2, we're already saying, how can we work around the issue of price of electricity? How can we work around in ensuring that there's enough electricity in the country? Where else can we look? And what other mixes can we bring on the table to make sure that we are able to supply energy? Not just electricity alone, but fuel as well is expensive in the country. I mean, you go to the neighbors and you find it a bit cheap, like 3-4 rands cheaper. So you also need to look at that, because it also adds on your operation, on your operational cost, such that investors will prefer to invest in other countries and beneficiate some of the minerals that we mine in this country in other countries, because it's more economical to do so.
Well, what is your assessment of the past damage? Because Minister Gwede Mantashe has been trying to do a lot to fix the regulatory uncertainty that miners complained about for years. But because of that, because of the power problems, because of labor relations, that's been blamed as well. It seems to me, but like many of the big miners have already reorientated overseas. You're saying there's hope for the future, but those people with the money to look ahead, a lot of them have moved abroad already. What's your assessment?
The nice thing with mining and mineral resources in general is that you'll find that there are particular countries with certain types of minerals that will not be in abundance in other countries. So South Africa will have some of this. For instance, the titanium oxide seems to be very abundant along the coast of South Africa. So you find that you'll find it in the Richards Bay, you'll find it in the Eastern Cape side. So you other countries will have, but you'll obviously have more.
Yeah.
So people who will have interest in those kinds of minerals that we are discovering as we go along will come in and invest. Those who've left, they obviously have good reasons. Like you are saying, let's reflect back some of the challenges we are raising. But the issue with countries like ours is that you will have an organized labor, which is important because you come from a history of labor that has been exploited many a times. You come from serious atrocities where labor is concerned. So there's issues of safety as well that comes into that unionized labor that assist everyone to keep on their toes and also up the standards of labor. I mean, if you look at this particular labor component of South African mining sector, you'll find that, 5 years ago, you will have fatalities of about 1,000 a year in mining. But because we've been working together both at the side of the government, the private sector, which are miners, and these unions, we've been able to drop those numbers down to about 21. I mean, we were counting for the first quarter, 21 versus the 45 of last year.
Yeah.
So those are some of the improvements that you've been able to see, and you need that particular activity. But on the other hand, you also need to balance profitability of business, because when people come in and invest, the intention is to make business, but you can't do that at the expense of the people that work in that particular space.
Yeah.
Looking at the safety, looking at whether there's fair compensation as well. And these are not like industries that don't make profit. They make proper profit.
Are there any ideas? Because the minister was talking about the effects of a 5-month strike in the gold mining sector. So that adding to that decline I was talking about in the beginning of the year. Surely that is unusual, a 5-month-long strike.
Look, around the discussions between the owners and the workers, there will always be disagreements, and some of these disagreements will call for very long strikes. But in terms of the mining itself and its own growth, what is also important is a bit of innovation and a bit of opening up of this industry. As you will know, this industry has been operating, yes, profitable, yes, but in terms of ownership, it has been multinationals that have been mining mostly. One of the areas that we're looking into currently is the small miners projects, to say how can we get more people, local people mining, but also how do we get more local people and foreign multinationals to come and invest on beneficiation, because mining is just not mining alone. You need to also be able to beneficiate. So some of the mining will be encouraged by opening of this and transforming this particular sector to allow for more local people to mine. But what comes with that is also challenges of illegal mining, because there's also that challenge on the other side, which also comes with a lot of safety issues.
There's so many issues in mining.
Multidimensional.
You have, like the minister said, keep on alluding to future prospects.
Right.
Are those prospects big enough, small mining, etc., to make up for the 75,000 jobs that have gone?
Well, probably not immediately overnight, but it's a big industry that that most of South Africans have wanted to have an access to. And currently, when you look at our licensing, it has a bit of challenges here and there, and we're trying to bring in technology so that at least it's digitized and it's more faster and quicker, obviously aligned with what the Act itself says in terms of what needs to be followed and how long it should take to apply for a license. But we're trying to speed that up a bit so that at least all the people who are looking into mining licenses are able to access. And also looking at the issue of aligning with the mining charter itself, because the mining charter has been approved and is in action. So there's also the issue of those rights that needs to align themselves with those needs that the mining charter is also raising.
Deputy Minister, can we look at the energy mix? Because as a country, we are moving away from coal to cleaner energy, but there's still a lot of coal in South Africa. Many say that's happening slowly.
But moving away.
After Thursday's speech, the Southern African Faith Communities Environmental Institute called the minister's speech a damning reflection on your department and its grasp of climate change. What's your response to that?
One, in South Africa, as you say, there's a lot of coal. I think the last report I saw was the 2010 report, and it was saying coal in this country is about 200 years. We have about 200 years under our ground. So it means there's no way we can wish coal away. But there are technologies within the energy sector that seek to clean up coal. And one of the things that we need to be able to do if we are serious about energy mix is to first understand that the new technologies that are there will coexist with coal. And probably that's why we got that kind of a response.
Yeah.
But we'll need to mix energy sources for us to get stability and be able to give some security in terms of energy and some sustainability and affordability to that. So that coal will still need to come on board. That gas will need to come on board. That nuclear will need to come on board. That wind energy, all the renewables will need to come on board as well to actually give you the mix that gives you a bit of stability. Because if you are to raise one source of energy above the other, what you will be dealing with is that you will fall into a trap that some of the countries in the world have fallen into, of elevating one source, and when you've elevated that source, your energy industries will then collapse and you'll be unable to respond to your energy needs. And I think the good example is how we all had relied on Eskom continuously. Without bringing the other energy sources on the mix, and then we've had challenges. When we have a challenge there, we are unable to say, let's raise that other source so that at least we cover for the gap that is being opened by this one. So you are unable to actually play around with your mix because you don't have a mix. Yeah. So that's the whole idea of an energy mix. We'll soon be bringing an integrated resource plan. We are hoping to gazette it now in September, which will clarify most of the issues that everyone is worried about in terms of what do we mean when we say we want to bring in an energy mix, an energy source that is mixed to provide energy security. Okay,
and hopefully we can chat to you or the minister then. There are so many issues still around shale gas, around future energy, now that mineral resources and energy are combined. But thank you for your time this evening. That was the Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Bavelile Hlongwa.